My name is Memon. I'm right now in Calgary, Alberta. So we're gonna start our session. Mostly my sessions are based on question and answers. So is session going along? You can ask me the questions regarding whatever comes in your mind first, so we can discuss. So today we're gonna discuss about civil engineering, how to write a CV/resume effectively, plus the countries where you can go free after your graduation, what you are doing right now, maybe bachelor's or master's. If you want to go for a PhD or master degree around the world, we're gonna discuss those things. Also we're gonna discuss about the future of civil engineering. So let's begin from you guys. If you have any question, so let's talk about the civil engineering first. Is there anybody has any question regarding civil engineering? Because when once you ask me the questions, I can start explaining you regarding those specific issues or areas. So let's begin. Shoot a question.
So
So,
if you have any question, you can ask any question related to civil engineering in your mind. Then sir will answer you.
basically, I am a civil engineer. I have a 15 years of civil engineering experience and a civil side and structural analysis and design side, which is mainly consist of steel structures, concrete structures, foundation, any kind of foundation, plus the civil experience of the roads design, well pad design, bridges, culverts. These are my specialties. So if you have any question regarding those, you can ask me about the civil, because civil is very broad area. It's not it became encompasses in couple of field like a structural or civil, but civil can be irrigation side, civil can be environmental side, civil can be municipal side, highways. There are so many branches of civil engineering, and every branch has the different kind of spectrum and different kind of scenario, plus different job market are different, right? Some folks they want to go to the environmental engineering, the civil environmental engineering. There are lots of scope in a developed country, maybe some scope in developing countries, but municipal engineering is the only, I can say, a field of civil engineering where there is always a jobs around the world. Maybe same with in China too. So municipal engineering, which is basically related to the municipal affairs, like a community services kind of engineering, civil engineering related to the roads, inside roads, wastewater related things, stormwater related things. So it's everything comes in municipal in landfill, waste management also comes in your municipal affairs. So that the municipal engineering has a very charming scope. I don't think so it will end soon. Every day it's growing more and more. Then we can have a scope in structural design. If you are related to the structural design, for example, the buildings, tall buildings nowadays, there is a mass concrete jungle around the world. You can see tall structures more than 150, 100, 200 story buildings too. And I don't know what will be in the future of those ones. Maybe I don't know, 300, 400, 500 story buildings. Plus there is a lot of scope in bridge engineering, especially in China. They did a quite remarkable job in a bridges side. They done it a very fantastic. I forgot the name. It's a very wide bridge. They designed it, and Spain was, I don't know. It's a long span bridge designed in China. So bridges engineering is also a good scope around the world too. So this is the brief summaries regarding civil engineering. If you have any burning questions, and one more thing, I don't know, you are a graduate student, you should know that there is no silly question. All questions are very well, because you don't know, that's why you are here, right? If you know already, then you shouldn't be here. So I'll be really glad if you ask me the question, rather silence in the audience. This is not a class, right? So don't take it this as a class. This is just the learning section. learning session. I am learning from you and you are learning from me. So we are learning from each other. So let's shoot at some questions regarding civil engineering if you have any. If not, then we can move on to the CV or resume. So let's have a pause for a couple of seconds until your brain gonna start asking questions. So ask the questions. And I don't know about the China, what is the mode of job, but in Europe, North America, Australia, there's the presentations. You have to do the presentations, right? If you are a civil engineer, your project manager gonna ask you about what have you done so far, right? You have to present yourself in every day in a meetings, right? So you have to speak over there. You have to tell them what you have done so far in a week, what was the job given you a week ago, what you have done so far. You have to explain those things. So if you don't have a presentation skills, if you don't have the courage to speak in between folks, then it will be very hard for you to do your job. Because and especially if there is some Chinese folks there, especially for you guys, it's very hurdle here in these countries, because you are very good with analytical skills but very poor with communication skills. So always I see Chinese folks hiding behind other folks, but nevertheless they have to come up, right? So it's better for you guys, if you want to come to the countries, you have to be having a good communication skill. So it will come eventually with the time, but start right now. So ask me the question. So is there anybody has any question?
Okay.
After doing my bachelor in China, what do you think? What do you suggest that I should do my masters from which country and why?
Okay, so once you finish your bachelor's, it's always recommendable that you do the job rather than directly go to the masters. It's best to have a job first. So in my opinion or suggestion, it's better to find a job, do it for a couple of years, then move on. If you like to move on to the master's degree, right? If not, then just continue to do the job. So that's the one thing. This is my recommendation to you. But if you said, okay, no, I don't want to stop it, I just want to continue because I am in a university, I just want to keep continue, then my best advice is to you go to Europe, because most of the Europe you don't need to pay a tuition fee. Most of the Europe are free from the tuition fee, are covered by scholarships. Like if you want to go to Finland, it's totally free, you don't need to pay any fee. If you want to go to Germany, it's totally free, you don't need to pay any fee in Germany. Sweden, free. Norway is a free, right? So you can choose either from these 4 countries, you can go any country, right? Only for the Germany, there is a one little hitch, is that you need to know the German language. So there are 3 modules. Each module consists of 3 months. You can do in a China, you can do wherever is your home country. You can do it there, or you can do it in a China. There is a 3 modules: A1, B1, and a B2. There are 3 month. Each module consists 3 months, so 9-month course. You have to do that course. Basically, it's a communication, day-to-day communication course. So because your masters and a PhD would be in English, but the people around you, they don't speak English, so you need to know the German language. That is the basic requirement for your bachelor program or your master's program or your PhD program. Rest countries you can go without anything if your curriculum is taught by English instructors here in China. If your curriculum or mode of instruction is in English, then you can go to these countries. You don't need to do any IELTS or other things. But if your mode of instruction is not in English in China, then you have to do IELTS academic with band 6. So that is the one requirement. The rest of Europe, except Ireland and England, we can leave Ireland and England aside. The rest is covered by scholarship. Like you want to go to France, you want to go to Italy, and so on and so forth. The other countries, except these 4 countries which I already mentioned, those are covered by scholarships, and scholarships are offered once you will get the admission in those countries' universities. So first thing is that you go to the university website on those countries, get admissions. Then once you get the admission, then you apply for fundings. So they will give you a funding. Once if university will accept you as a student, they will oblige to give you a funding, scholarships or bursaries. So those things are covered through scholarships. But the previous countries which I mentioned already, you can go without any fee or anything. So there is some noise, Asad, your background.
Yes.
I'm hearing it. So
Okay, sir.
yeah. So let me know if you have any question regarding Europe. Is there any question? Anything you would like to ask or add? Yes?
Actually, I want to know. I also read so many articles about civil engineering. I
Yeah.
want to know about my future. If I want to publish some articles in future, what is the procedure to publish these articles in further work?
Yeah, so there are so many engineering councils, so many engineering associations, so many like CISC. There's the American Concrete Institutes, right? You can publish on those ones. There is the CSCE, is Canadian version. You can publish your paper there. So publishing a paper, there is a two-way. Your professor can help you because they have access to all these committees, most of the committees. They can submit on behalf of you, right? Because when you publish your paper during studies, your professor's name would be on your paper, right? So he would be one contributor on your paper. You can send directly to those journals by yourself. There is a fee associated with some journals. There are a fee associated with it. Once you send your paper, they will ask you. It's a minimum fee, maybe $50 or $100 some. So you can pay those fee. Once you pay those fees, they can publish your paper if your paper is according to their mark, right? So writing a paper is also, it's not easy to write a paper, right? It's not like your something you write an essay or something, right? There is some format of the writing a paper. You already, I guess you guys already sees those paper how they can be written, right? So if your paper is up to that mark, you can send those journals and they will publish your papers. Best thing is, first you present your paper in any conferences. Once you present your paper in a conference, there are some papers they will exempt your fee to publish your paper on their publications because you were in the conference and you publish your paper there. So best approach is to publish your paper first. Means present your paper in presentation first and then publish your paper into their journals, because each conference you go, they have their own papers too, so they can freely publish your paper if you are attending their conferencing and presenting your paper. There are so many associations, so many committees on civil engineering. If you Google it, you will find it, so many. There are Americans, Canadians, Europeans, even might be Chinese too, I guess. So publish it. Best advice is publish in a Chinese paper first and then bring it on to the American or Canadian or European paper. So
after graduation, many students studies to which department they do master, which department they have to choose. So can you
yes,
tell us?
in Canada, I can tell you about the Canada. Mostly folks who has a background of civil engineering, they do masters in 3 areas basically. One is structural engineering, purely structural engineering design, right? Second area is highway design, roads and highway. That's the second area. And third area is waste management. So municipal waste or industrial waste. So in that one they can do. So three areas major all the folks here in Canada do: structural engineering, highway engineering, and the municipal design of the, if you see the garbage, landfills, those kind of stuffs.
And what about Sir Pakistan? Pakistan
What's it?
mostly students. What about Sir Pakistan?
In
Mostly some.
because once people comes here in these countries, they will not go back to their country of origin, right? But mostly folks in Pakistan, I guess, in civil engineering, because there is a scope on same thing in a highway and in a buildings, means structural, right? And also in irrigation, because our back home is a agricultural country, so most of the folks they do in masters in irrigation, highways and structural related to the buildings and bridges mostly. These are the three areas in back home too. Slightly different because here mostly folks don't do the irrigation, but in Pakistan there's a huge scope of irrigation, so people they do masters in irrigation too.
And after doing our bachelor, if we want to get a job, first
Yeah.
we need to send our CV to that company. Then they will call for us interview. Please can you explain some keys about interviews?
Okay, before interview you should know about the CV, right? Because that is the key factor for your life. So here's my CV I am doing right now. So this is, I don't know, you guys can see it. So this is my summary about my experience, then my experience, and so on and so forth. The end page of my, this is the end of my CV page, is the fourth page, so it shows my education, yeah, my registration with different organization and whatnot. I did some courses different, and this is, so I'll explain you how to write a CV first, right? That is the most important factor for your career. And I will also forward Asad generic resume sample, so you guys also will get some know how to format the CV in international format, not in your Chinese or Pakistani or Arabic format, but international format which is acceptable to everywhere around the world. So in basically in CV is mostly talk about in depth about your experience and your expertise, and CV is only applicable in Gulf, China, in Pakistan, India, Bhutan, Burma, and those kind of countries. But in European countries, Australia, and North America, we call it resume. Resume is a short version of curriculum vitae, your CV. So for example, if your CV is 4 pages, your curriculum vitae would be, your resume would be 1.5 pages. So in English speaking countries or European countries, there is resume, not a CV. So let's talk about the CV. Basically the format of CV and resume nowadays is look like the same, but in the CV you talk like your experience is more in depth, but in the CV you just cut short, you just nutshell explain. If you spend 3 or 4 years in a one company, you just talk about briefly what you have done. You cannot go through each and every duties of your everyday duties or 3 years what you have done. You just give them just a sense of what you have done so far, that's it, in your resume. But in a CV you have to means give them a story, full story, what you have done from day first to the day last, right? So that is the only biggest difference, which I think is in depth and the short. So let's bring it on a CV or resume, whatever you call it. Yes.
Sir, I also want to ask another question. I had before interviewed on Skype. I applied for internship when I didn't send them my CV, they asked from me first question, please introduce yourself.
Yes.
Please could you explain how we need to
Hold your horses. Hold your horses. We're gonna come up to the interview later on. The first thing is your CV, right? Your CV gonna bring your interview to your table or gonna take you to the interview table, right? So first you have to spend time on your CV. You cannot be you cannot say that okay, CV is not that important and okay, I gonna write whatever I like to write and then say no. CV is the most important factor. Whatever you are, if you are a very brilliant student, if you are a very intellectual kind of a worker, but if you don't know how to write a CV or resume, you won't get a job, because employer are not seeing you beforehand, right? He's seeing just your CV. If your CV is not explanatory, is not well versed, is not well encompasses about your ability, about your expertise, you done. Nobody care about you, right? But if your CV are well versed, is written in that form, when someone can see it, even HR guys are not human resource guys, which are the first your contact of your CV, are not technical folks, right? They doesn't know about, for example, you put use a structural design of pile foundation or dynamic analysis or something, right? Or something. They doesn't know about these terminologies, right? Because they are coming from commerce background, right? But your CV is so well prepared in a style, if some guys who is not engineering background, when they read it, they can clearly understand who you are, right? That is the important factor. So you cannot means quickly are rushing with your CV. You have to take a deep breath, take a time. For one job you need at least 8 hours to tweak your resume. Each and every job you have to cater your resume or a CV. You cannot send your generic CV or resume for all jobs. Each and every job you must cater your CV. You have to sit down, see what is the requirement of the job. According to that requirement, you have to change your CV. Maybe sometime you have to write all the way new CV. Sometime maybe halfway, sometime maybe a quarter, but you have to change it. So let's talk about CV first, then we come back to the interview. So in a CV, the first portion of your CV should be your name. So whatever style you can write, it's up to you what style you can write. Your name, your address, your phone number, just a one phone number, not 2, not 3, not 4, just a one phone number which is 24/7 available. Some folks, they have a 3 phones, right? They put the 3 phone number. You cannot do that. You have to have a one phone number which is 24/7 available. So whoever gonna call you for interview, they should have one number, not calling on all 3 numbers. So your one phone number, your one email address, which should be your first name, your last name, 8 whatever, Gmail, Yahoo, whatever. You cannot, that your first name and the last name which be your real names. You cannot put your name like a Prince Asad. You cannot put that Prince, or a Queen, or handsome guy, whatever, 1 2 3 4 5. No, you have to have asad.lark@gmail.com or asad.lark12 or something. If it's not like already taken, you can put some number, numerical numbers, but you cannot have like fancy name on your, because you are a professional engineer, right? So you should have that kind of emails which should have your first name, last name, or last name, first name, whatever, dot or not dot, whatever, continuous, but it represent your real first name and the real last name, 8 whatever. So that is your first para of your resume, your name, your address, your phone number, your email address. If you have a LinkedIn account, you can associate your LinkedIn account below the email, because some employer would like to see your LinkedIn account too, because there is your pictures there, references from your colleagues, and the activities which you have done in the past. So if you have a LinkedIn account, you can put your LinkedIn. If you have a LinkedIn profile, you can put your ID below the email. So that's the one. Then the second part is the summary. Who you are. Basically, now you are telling the employer that who you are, what you have done so far, and that is the catch here. Who you are means a guy which company wants, not a guy who you are. You understand what I am telling to you? For example, I need a guy who can design for me a foundation, but you are the guy who designed the building. So in your resume, in your summary, if you say, I design a multi-story building, should I hire you or not? You know what I mean? Anyone, should I hire you or not? No, right? Because I need a guy who can design for me a foundation. So the employer doesn't care who you are. Employer care what you can do for them, right? So that is the case. People say, I sent my resume, I couldn't get the interview. And when I asked them, what you have written, he said, whatever I know I written. I said, who care about what you know you write? They care about what they want from you. So that is the thing you have to write down in your CV or resume, what they want from you to do the job. So because you are a civil engineer, you know how to do the foundation design, you can highlight that foundation design first, and then you can say, okay, I designed the multi-story building later on. But first you emphasis on what they want from you to do. So before typing your resume or a CV, you have to look the job which you are applying for. In the job, they say that they included the duties you're going to perform. So take those duties, write down somewhere in a word form, then your thought process going to start around the duties. So you're going to think about it, how I can rephrase those duties which should include it in my resume. So you can do it. So major duties you have to focus in your summary. You can say fresh graduate from Yangzhou University. Pardon my French, I can't pronounce your university in China, but whatever university you are, you said fresh graduate or experienced graduate. If you have some kind of thing, you can say 2 years experience in civil engineering. Then you enlisted those things which are already advertised in the job. You can list it in. Use third form of the verb. Even though you are working right now, you cannot say working on it. You always used worked on it, worked, experienced. So you cannot use experiencing, working, right? So because your CV is not talking, it's a dead. Because you send me today, I am reading tomorrow. So it's already in the future I am reading it. What I am future is reading it, your past. So you have to write down your CV or resume in the past, in a third form of the verb. So whenever you use any verb, you use third form of the verb. Never ever use a continuous tense or a running tense. So that is the one thing. So in your summary, you will highlight what the company wants from you to do. You can say, okay, design foundations for so many years on this software, manual calculation done by this, whatever. You can write down your summary. Basically, you build a story around what they want. Then the second portion gonna comes your experience. Now, because in summary you just give them a generic flavor, a total what you have done. In experience, now you're gonna tell them each and every step, means what you have done. If you design beams, you can say design and analyze concrete beams, design and analysis of steel structure beams, design and analysis of connection design of steel, something like that. Design and analyze pile foundation, concrete, steel, screw piles, micro piles, whatever, raft foundation. So now you're gonna explaining in detail in your experience, Previously in a summary you just mention encompasses what you have done. In experience now you're gonna tell them what you actually you are doing in the company, the previous company. Or because some folks which are the fresh graduate, they don't have experience, they can enlist their project, what project they have done in their undergrad program, or a thesis in their undergrad program. They can highlight thesis in project in experience. You cannot leave experience blank. You can say experience in Yangzhou University, the project is running almost 3 to 4 months, sometime is 8 months too, and sometimes is a 4 month. You can say from January to May, April 30th. Project name, whatever project you done it, and what you have done in that project, you have to explain in the experience section. Then the next section would be your degree, your education. You highlight your bachelor's, you highlight your master's degree first, bachelor's degree second. So this will be in a chronological order. If you are experiencing, if you have a 2 different company experience, you show in experience section the current company first, then your second company later on, the past company. Same with your degree. If you done a master's, you put master's first, then your bachelor's degree. So your name, summary, experience, educations. Then if you done any publication or paper present in somewhere, you will section have a publication / paper present. You can write down your paper name, where you have done, which year have you done, you write down that one. Then next would be your extracurriculum activity. If you've done any volunteer works in the past, if you've done any other things, like any other courses you have taken so far from different institute or in your institute, but not in your graduation portion extra, you can mention that. And the last line would be reference will be furnished upon request. That's it. That is your CV or resume, whatever you can call it. So as you are a fresh graduate, your CV or resume should not more than 1.5 pages. If 1 pages, that's perfect, that's very good. 1.5, that's okay, but you cannot jump from 1.5 pages to 2 or 3 pages, because the employer or HR person or anyone doesn't have too much time to spend on your CV or resume. They have only 15 to 30 seconds to scan through your resume. If in 15 to 30 seconds your resume cannot produce them who you are, they are looking for, then your resume goes to the where it goes? Dustbin. That's correct. It goes to the dustbin. So that is the thing. So once you finish your resume, then you take the paper of your resume and start reading it, and see in 15 seconds or 30 seconds where you finish it. For example, if you're reading resume and you finish it halfway off the page, it means your resume is too long. You have to short it. So you have to read first before sending to anyone. You read your resume first. You read quickly. Just like professional civil structural engineer, construction engineer with master degree in civil engineering and having more than 15 years of experience. Like just kind of this one. And see where you stop. If your clock says 30 seconds, done, you up, then you have to start writing up new CV or resume which will last in 30 seconds. So that is the 15 to 30 second rule, is a general rule around the world. It's not only in Canada or a European country, this is the general rule around the world. Your resume is scannable in 30 seconds. They just scan it. And what they are scanning in your resume, they are looking for those particular word which they already mentioned in their advertisement. Basically they are scanning through their eyes those words. But in the big companies, like in a multi-billion business companies, or their staff is more than 100,000 staff or a 50,000 employee kind of thing, they have a software. Your resume, when it comes in a Word format or PDF format, they just put it into that software, and that software gonna run your resume in matching those words which is highlighted in the advertisement for the job. If your word is 75% or 80% is not matchable, then your resume goes to where?
Dustbin.
In their advertisement. They already put it there your resume goes inside, and that software gonna start running on that resume. And if they could not catch 75 to 80% of those words, your resume won't go to the HR person. So in a smart big companies, they have a software. In a not a small, but in a big smart companies, they have a software. In a small companies, they have a people who is commerce graduate. They just want to look at the aspect of your life. So so it's a most important factor. So do you have any question? Does anybody has any question regarding a CV?
Right about object.
No, there is
Objectives.
objective. See, why should I care about your objective? Right? Because I am employing you. Why should I interest in your objective? You say, I want to become a civil engineer. Who cares about you, civil engineer? I want to see you as a sub-engineer, right? I don't care about your civil engineer. I say, some people say, objective, my objective is to be general manager. Why should I care about your objective? I am paying you to do job for me. I'm not hiring you to make you a general manager. I'm hiring you as a civil engineer to work for my company. So I don't care about the objective. The objective was the very old, our grandfathers' times thinking. The people care about you. Nobody care about you in this materialistic world. Only people care about you is your parents. That's it. I care about you because if you not produce anything for my company, for example, if I am the guy who is hiring you, my interest is my company interest, not your interest, right? So I don't care about your objective. So objective, there's no need to put objective on your CV or resume. Beside objective, you put a summary. In the summary, you can tell them who you are and what you can do for their company. Because if they give you $100,000 a year salary, you can show them in your summary that you can make them maybe billions of dollars, right? So in the summary, you can tell them who you are and what you can do for them. So there is a big no for your objective. Rather objective, you can write down your summary, who you are and what you can bring to that new company. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
So, is there any burning question? Because as I said, there's no silly questions. You should ask the question, and the thing is essential. If you don't communicate, you will not get promotion. Maybe you will be fired. So, as a civil engineers, we are, this is the first time I'm telling you, but I'm already told my fellow civil engineers that we are the cream of engineering. Without us, nobody do anything. Because when you open your water tab in the morning, this is us who bring water to your house, because it goes to the water treatment plant. Who designed that water treatment plant? We, civil engineer, designed it, right? Who laid down those pipes? We, civil engineer. The house you are living, who designed it? Who built it? We, civil engineers. The car you go to work, who designed that road? We, civil engineer. Who designed the body of the car? We, civil engineer, not a mechanical engineer. So without us, it's impossible this world is going to be run. So you should be proud to be a civil engineer. Without us, nothing going to happen. In the room you are sitting there, if there is no room, where we gonna do the conference call? Right? So we are a very important folks in the world. Mechanical engineer thinks they are important, but as I said, without us they can do anything. So think like that. If we are important folks, there is a lots of responsibility on our shoulders. The most important responsibility on the shoulder of civil engineering is what? What is the most important responsibility on our shoulders? Anyone? What is the most important responsibility on civil engineers' shoulders? Ethics. Yes, ethic is one thing, but most important responsibility on the shoulder of civil engineering is the safety of human beings, safety of the environment, safety of animals, safety of world. Because we are designing, right? We are designing the bridges, we are designing the roads, we are designing the buildings. So people lives in a building. If we design a poor design a building, if beam or column fail, people's gonna die. If we design poor structure on bridges, people gonna die. If we design poor roads, people gonna die. If we design poor crossing, animal can die, right? So that is the utmost responsibility of human civil engineer, a human life or wildlife, that, and then the property, because that is the utmost duty, responsibility on our shoulder: the human life, wildlife, and the property. So that is the utmost responsibility of us. So we should be very thorough engineers, we should be very intellectual kind of engineers, we should think about out of the box, new scenarios, new ideas. So you are in this room, when I'm seeing the civil engineer, you are the most important people around the world. So that's what I'm saying. Ask the questions. If you have any troubles, any problems in your mind, any burning questions which you never ask to anyone, please feel free. I don't mind. Just throw it to me, and I'll try my level best to explain.
After we have to go for interview. An interview, what we should do, how we prepare for
Okay.
interview.
So first I said, no question about CV or resume.
Yes, sir.
But at least you should say yes or no. Okay. No question about CV or resume? No. Okay. So let's see. So now you send your CV. Your CV is picked up. You got a phone call from HR that Mr. Asad, how would you like to be on a Friday? Would you like to be available on a Friday 9 o'clock at our building ABC? And you said, yeah, I'm excited. Okay, good. Your meeting is done. Now you're gonna do one thing first. Start research that company. What is the company about? What kind of project they have done in the past? What kind of project they have in current? And what are the projects in their pipeline? Where you can get that information? First point of contact is the website of that company. Go to that company website, find out their projects. Know about what they have done, and also see where you can make change in their project, where you can fit yourself. Once they ask you what you can do about our company, then you should know, okay, they have done that project about, for example, they design a bridge in somewhere. If they design like that, it would be more beneficial, more, the owner wants, or any company wants, the money. How much you save their money. That is the only key factor. They doesn't care about who you are. If you can make them make money for them, and that structure would be safe. First priority, they talk about the safety first. They always say safety first. But in their mind is economy first. So if you can make some changes in their economy, make more money, so think like that. And the safety also. So research about their project first, and then gather all the strength you have, all the expertise, all the means. Civil engineering, that's fine. You are a good civil engineer. You learn very well. But what extra things you have? For example, maybe you have a diploma in computer sciences also beside your engineering. You can highlight that thing, that I can do. If there is some problem in the computer, I can fix by myself, right? I am very good with Microsoft Office. I can do the Excel, I can do the Access, I can do PowerPoint presentation, the Word, those kind of things. So you can highlight those, your soft skill or interchangeable skills. Interchangeable skill is, maybe sometimes there is no secretary and you gonna type, right? So maybe there is no project engineer, you gonna liaison with the project engineer, work project engineer if project engineer is on holiday. So think about those skills. So first is research about the company. Second is gather all your strength together, and that's it. once in the dressing, you should be a business casual. You cannot have a bright color or this kind of shirt which I am wearing it. Is no. You have to have a plain shirt like a white, blue, black, whatever, but light color. And then the coat, it should be a light color. Your shoes should be polished. Your hair should be neat and clean, shaved, and very well, right? You cannot go like this sleepy, be energetic, right? So once you enter into the room, the first person you're gonna encounter, you should have a firm handshake with that guy or a lady. That firm handshake will give assurance to the guy who would be your interviewer that you are the guy which a lady represent in the CV. If your handshake is not firm, if you are shaking, your handshake is shaking or clumsy, then it will give a interviewer that the guy who they are asking is not you. So your handshake should be firm. Smile on your face. Always smile on your face. That is the key factor. When you sit in the room, for example, if there is the 3 people in the room you're gonna interview, if one person is asking you the question, you attention that guy first, and then during answer you can turn yourself towards the second or the third person, and always smile. When you answer it, you can smile on your face, right? Smile, give them assurance that you are the confident guy. So you can change your side from one to other to third person, but whoever asking the question, you pay attention on that guy, but you cannot leave those 2 folks in the room too. You pay attention on those 2 folks. Okay, the first question, mostly they will ask you, tell me about yourself. So now they want to ask you what you can do for them, right? Tell me about yourself doesn't mean like you can say, I am Ladak from village ABC. My village has 20,000 people, and there is one cow living there. I like cow very much, and there is a parrot too in my house. It doesn't care about those kind of. Tell me about yourself means what you have done so far. If you are a fresh graduate, what was your passion about it? Means what you have done in the university with your master thesis. You can say, I am a very well-versed structural design engineer in whatever. I am a very expertise in whatever. You can tell that thing. Start from that. I'm a graduated from Yangzhou University, which is the number 3rd or ranking or a 4th. If is a 100 ranking, don't tell them. If this is in a between 10, then tell them. If not in 10, then tell them. Yangzhou University, which is a prestigious institute in China. I am graduated from there. My expertise in whatever subject you can mention it, and I am passionate about the job which I am applying it, because I know that expertise, the education which I already carry on, I'll perform very well in that job, and that is my passion to do work for you guys. So something like around that. And if they said, okay, elaborate more about yourself, maybe then you can say some extracurricular activities, the volunteer work you have done so far, any computer extra courses you have done so far, or any other presentation you have done in the world. So you can keep lingering on those things. So that is the one thing, the first thing they would ask you, tell me about yourself. So there are so many formats available on a Google. If you can Google it, they will also give you some hints how you perform on tell me about yourself. Also, they will ask you why we're going to hire you. What is the specialty you possess? For example, there is 2 similar identical candidates there, right? Same university, same from, for example, Asad is going there and some other folks is going there. Both have same GPA, same degree, same everything. Now, why they hire you? Why they don't hire Asad, right? If they ask you, why I gonna hire you? Already there are 15 people in line. Why I gonna hire you? Right? Now you're gonna play a factor. Now this is your, your intellectual things gonna start coming in your mind. For example, you know that job requires fresh graduate. It means the guy is coming from university around, for example, 3-4 universities, different universities, right? You know that there would be the same curriculum. Whatever they taught you, same thing over there. So this is the tie, you know that, right? Their age would be the same, similar age to you. So everything what you think about yourself, that guy already has. Now think about something which you don't have, but you can possess that thing in you. You got my point? For example, you think all the subject is taught by your university and other university is the same. That guy has the same ability. Now think about the guy which you are not, right? And tell them that you are that guy, right? Why they hire you? You say, okay, yeah, that guy has the same qualification, same expertise, but I have extra these ones. I can do the Excel sheet for you. I can do the project engineering for you, right? If there is no project engineer, I can do that thing. Even I can do some mathematics for you. I can design a program for you or something, right? Even in a free time, I can do advertisement for you. Something means which is out of the box. But you cannot say I cannot sell your things, right? Because this is not your area. The area of expertise should be around your civil engineering or a computer side, right? So you tell them something which, if you are, then that's fine. If you are not, then tell them that thing, the story, build it, right? So these are some tips for you. And also the important things after interview is thank you note. You should write down the email of the person who interviewed you or the people who interviewed you. You should thank them for their time and looking forward to work for their company. So that thank you note will give them that, okay, you appreciate their time, they ask you to come and you appreciate it and you are eager to work for their company. After a week, exactly after a week, you're gonna give them a call and ask them about the progress of your interview. So you can call the receptionist or the guy who already gave it to you his business card, because this is how the thing works. When you go for interview, they will give to you their business card, right? So you call them, they say, sir, my name is ABC. I came last week and you had my interview. I am very much eager and passionate to know where I am standing right now, because I love your company and this is my biggest wish to work for your company. So I am so much enthusiasm about your company. Please tell me where I am standing right now. So maybe they'll say, okay, we are still reviewing. There is already 2-3 more candidates this week. We're going to interview it. We're going to let you know soon. Then next week you follow up, because that follow up will give them assurance that you are very passionate about their company, and that will distinguish between you and other candidates, because you are keep following them, right? You are keep bugging them. That will give them, okay, you want to work for them, right? So if there is 100 chances, from 100 chances, this thing will work 65%. This thing gonna be work. Maybe 35 times it's not work, but 65 times it will work. If you continue pushing them and just tell them that how much eager you are for that job. So as I said, prepare before interview, know about the company, know about your strength, work on tell me about yourself and where you can differentiate yourself. These are the things. Send them a thank you note and keep them follow up after interview. Is there any question regarding it?
Sir, after we interview, they will give us chance to ask a question. They will say, if you have any question, you can ask from us.
Yes.
The basic question which we need to ask from them.
Okay.
Would you like to ask?
Yes, you can ask them about if they already not explained to you regarding what we call it, about the project you're gonna work on. For example, in mostly cases they already explain you what project they're gonna hire you. But if they didn't tell you about that thing, then you can ask them, what project, if you guys will hire me, what project I gonna work, and what kind of project is that, what is the budget and what is the schedule line for that project, when it's gonna start and when it's gonna end, right? So when you talk about the cost, when you talk about the schedule, they will think that you know what are the basic criteria for any project, because cost and schedule, that are the two most important components for the project. If cost go increase, schedule go increase. If schedule go increase, cost gonna increase, because they are proportional to each other. So when you talk about the cost and schedule, they know that you already know about how the project run. So you ask them about the project, right? What is the cost and how long this project will last, and what would be my job responsibility or something like that. If they already explain you, that's fine. Then you ask them about what are your future projects, what kind of, okay, I already researched it, there wasn't much information on your website regarding your future project. So if this project gonna end, for example, after a year, what gonna happens to me? Is there any project in the pipeline in your company? Because I want to grow with your company. Now you're gonna play a part, right? You're gonna tell them that how much sincere you are gonna be with their company, because you said, I am the guy who wanna stick with the one company and grow myself to be that company. I don't wanna work on a one project and leave the company and go to other. That's why I would like to ask you what you think about your future project. What kind of project you gonna expecting it, and when you gonna expecting it. So something like that, right? Is that clear?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Any other question?
Do you have any other question? And what about scholarships? How we can find scholarships for master?
Yes, if you recall, I already explained that thing, right, about the scholarship in Europe. But if you don't wanna go to Europe, then your best bet is to USA, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. Mostly their government sponsor scholarships are very less. How you gonna get the scholarship? There is a very easy way. If your percentage in your undergrad or your masters is more than 70%, you apply for the university itself, find out the professor in your specifically area. For example, you wanna do a master's in tall structures, right, or dynamic design or something. Find out who is the professor in that university to be a professor for that particular subject. Maybe there is one or two or three professor. There is mostly is two professor for one subject. That is how the things work. You approach that professor through email. Send them your profile. Just tell them who you are, what you have done your undergrad or your masters, why you want to pursue your masters or PhD in that university, what area of subject interest to you, and why this professor you choose it. So you have to do some research about that professor. You read his papers and everything, what work he has done. Then you approach with him. Just say, I want you to be my professor, and I want to work under you. So would it be possible for you? Please see my whatever you write about yourself, papers you already present. And if that professor will agree that he gonna be your supervisor, then he gonna give you a money for your tuition fee and living expenditure, because all professor has their allocated budget for their student. So that is the one way you approach around the world with the professors. So they're gonna fetch a fund for you. If university or the government of Canada, USA, Australia, New Zealand are not giving you the scholarship, then professor gonna give it to you, the scholarship. If you explain him clearly about yourself, and he or she took you their student, once they took you, your deal is done, your funding will be coming. So that is the one more approach on other way how to get the scholarship. Is there any other regarding those countries?
And what about sir, other countries? And if we can't get some professor, they have some questions about university, about then how.
Yeah, then you go to Europe, right? As I said, then you go to Europe. Europe is mostly free, and if is not tuition fee free, then it will be covered by scholarship, right? I explained in my earlier part, right? Once we started the session, if you remember the country's name, I gave it to you, where you can go free, like Germany, Sweden, Norway, Finland, you can go free. There is no tuition fee associated with the education, right? But the rest of the countries, you will get the admission first, and then they will give it to you the scholarship, like Italy, France, right? So, except Ireland, and England, rest is covered by free tuition fee, Europe, or through scholarships. So it's very easy process. Germany, you need a German language, but the rest, you don't need anything. If your curriculum is in English, if your degree is in English, then you do a master's or PhD. You don't need to do anything about it. In couple of countries, might be you need IELTS with a band 6. That's it. That is the only requirement you can fulfill. So the best advice is for you guys, if you cannot afford to do your master's degree or PhD degree, go to Europe for master's or PhD if you interested. Otherwise, China is also where you are right now. In China, is they are doing PhD and master free, right? So you can do free masters and PhD in China. In Canada, basically, my few folks are I can see Chinese. In Canada, it's 35% Chinese. So in Canada, it's called China. Basically, it's not Canada anymore. It's a China. If you go to Vancouver, is a Cantonese or other your other languages. People are talking. Every single shop is a Chinese shop, right? Sometimes I feel I am a Chinese, even I am not look like a Chinese, but see so many Chinese in Canada feel like I am in a China. So once if Chinese comes to Canada, they won't feel that they are in Canada. Basically, they feel they are same in China. So sorry if my words are offend anyone, but it's a part of fun. It's really there is a growing population of Chinese in Canada. There was 2 terms. British Columbia Premier was a Chinese guy. There's ministers in federal government are a Chinese guy. There's the mayors are a Chinese guy. Engineers, doctors, scientists are a Chinese guy. Shopkeepers, you know that, right? They are a Chinese. And everything is made. Even I'm wearing the shirt is made in China. Right? Everything is made in China. Canada don't produce anything. Canada only produce what we call it maple syrup, chocolate, and milk. The rest is all made in China. Even sometimes I feel that my prime minister is also made in China. But
sir, I have a question. A lot of fresh graduate after completing their bachelor go for a business administration degree. So is it advisable to do business administration degree for a better job, or it's only fine to have a bachelor degree?
The thing is that we as engineers are very delicate, very precious, very intellectual kind of people. Why should we want to waste our career to do 2 + 2 = 4, right? We are not people. We are the builders, right? We build this world. Okay? So the people who switches their careers, they are not very well in their mind. They don't have a pre-plan in their mind. They just do their engineering because they want to do engineering, right? But they don't have patience over the engineering. You can see without civil engineers, how this world gonna be run. Give me the example. The aeroplane, which you came from other countries to China. Who designed that aeroplane? Who designed this dynamic of the aeroplane? We, civil engineer. It's not a mechanical. It's not aeronautical. That is us. Without civil engineer. So you should feel a prestige. How much lucky you are being a civil engineer. That one thing you must tell yourself. Because you think that civil engineering is a joke. It's everybody can do the civil engineering. No. Only people who are very well in their academic can do a good civil engineering. Good civil engineering is not a joke. Because we are working with human life. And without civil engineering, nothing gonna happen. So don't feel that, okay, don't feel only about the job. Feel about the prestige to become to being a civil engineer. So if you really want to do a management side, then do a construction management. that will give you some kind of feeling of a management plus engineering. Rather than do MBA is for me, because I am very much loyal to my profession. I am very proud to be a civil engineer. I don't think about anything else. Then if you want to do anything in management, then do the construction management rather doing MBA or something, finance or anything, because this is not us. We are builders, so we should be stick with our own field. When this world gonna end, civil engineering gonna end. So there is always a future, present, past, all is civil engineers. So civil engineering is not like that. It's done because developed country now. What we do about it? No, because there is a continuously things are coming. Roads is developing, buildings are growing, wastewater ponds are doing, ditches. I don't know what not. There's lots of civil engineering scope. So don't think about that. Civil engineering gonna finish it tomorrow. When this world gonna end, civil engineering gonna end on that day. Because there won't be anybody, right? So the first person who came to this earth or who evolved from whatever, he was a civil engineer because he built a house for him to live. So you are the first person as a civil engineer. The person who gonna die, the end would be the civil engineer, right? Because he has to carry all these dead people, right, through that road. So don't think about it that the civil engineering is something less. It's a very prestige, and you should be thankful to your professors in that university, the lecturers who are giving you that knowledge and who are helping you to become a civil engineer. So one more thing, tomorrow when you see your professors and lecturer, you should say to them, thank you sir, making us a builder of this world. Because of those professors and the teachers, you're gonna be prestige in the world, you're gonna be shine. So you should be thankful to your professors and your lecturers. And tomorrow everyone should say to their professor, thank you sir, making us a builder. And feel proud to be a civil engineer. Whenever see you mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, just say we are a civil engineer, we are the builders. Without us you can't do anything. So first thing is to feel a pride. And not only feel a pride as a civil engineering, but feel a pride in your work. Whatever work you're gonna do tomorrow, feel a pride in it. Don't do a job because you're gonna do the job. Do a job with a passion. That's what I am, that's what I perform very well. And always think about safety of the human being, of the property, of the wildlife first. Safety is your first and foremost priority. You cannot jeopardize the safety of anyone. So that word you should remember. It will help you in your job. Safety is the first thing. Second thing is economy. First thing, our job, civil engineer, is to make sure everyone is safe, whom we are building the things. Roads, buildings, bridges, wastewater, irrigation. Our interaction with the human, environment and wildlife. Our foremost duty is to protect their life and the property. So that is the first priority, is safety. Second priority is economy. So whatever we design it should be constructible and it should be economical. Because if we design something which is so expensive, that is not we are. We are engineers. We give them a solution which is a cheap and constructible and easy to construct. So safety, economy, easy to construct. And always think about the schedule. Start and end. Is there any questions? Anything? About any? I can't hear you properly where there is a restriction in a connection.
Can you hear, sir?
Good morning. Can me clearly?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, thank you. I'm this student's teacher. So I have some questions about teaching.
Okay.
About teaching, yeah. Firstly, I want to ask you about the contents and the requirement of a final project in Pakistan. Final project. Final design project.
Okay. So, final design project in Pakistan, you are asking me?
Yeah, I ask you about the content and the requirement. Requirement, and that means what the students should do.
Oh, so you are asking the project requirement in university for final year student. That is your question?
Yes.
So basically in undergrad there is I think so 2 credit or 1 credit. I am not sure because how many years ago? 17 years ago I done my graduation, so I'm not sure. But is a 1 credit or 2 credit? They will give it to you a 1 project to do your final project. Which, for example, my project was to multi-story building design. That was my project, and I designed it 3-story building with water tank at the top and the foundation with it. So all the calculation, I have done a manual calculation for that one by my hand. There wasn't any software at that time. So that was a written thesis, almost 150 pages, and there wasn't any defense of it. I just produced that one to my professor, and he just checked it, and then he just say, okay, that is good. But nowadays, I guess the student has to defend their project. So there would be a jury of a couple of professors. They're gonna look for that project and ask the questions around that project.
Should the student learn the architecture and the structure design together?
Yes, if they, because architecture is not us as a civil engineer.
Yes.
Somebody else gonna design architect for us, anything. This is how the things work in a real life and in a university. We don't design architectural component of anything. Architect gonna design it. We will design only structural component of the structure. If there is the bridges, if the buildings or anything, so we are only responsible to design the structural components of building. If we are talking about the building, then our responsibility is to design the beam, columns, slab, foundation. That is our responsibility. Staircase, that is our responsibility. But how this building look like is the responsibility of architect. It's not our responsibility.
Should the student design the whole structure of the building?
Indeed, because they have to. For example, if we take a multi-story building, then multi-story building at the top has the water tank, right? If this is the not supplied by a municipal, if this is a self-sufficient building, then you have to design a tank at the top of the building. Then you have to design the beams, slab, column, and the foundation. Maybe foundation would be the rough foundation or individual footing. Maybe there would be a pile foundation, steel, concrete, or anything. So that is, and of course we have to have a staircase, so we have to design the staircase too. And then there is a retaining walls, right? So retaining walls, we have to design. If there is a retaining wall, if we don't use the beams, then we have a retaining wall. If we don't have a retaining walls, then we have a beams, and then we have a partition walls. So we have to design the partition wall. How thick would be the partition wall? Would be if there is a retaining wall or a load-bearing walls, which call sorry, not a retaining but a load-bearing walls. Then we have to design that load-bearing wall too. If we are not using the beam. अदा होश मोहम्मद, अगर तू वेठो आई त तुंहिंजे लाइ जवाबु इहो आहे त जेको वर्कशॉप या तव्हां अटेंड कंदो उहो तव्हां मेंशन कंदो एक्स्ट्रा प्रोग्राम्स में एटा उनमें हेलो सो बेसिकली मां जो सेशन करे रहियो आहियां चाइना में ऐं चाइना जी यंगजू यूनिवर्सिटी आहे सो ऐं मां लाइव कयां पियो थो पंहिंजे हिन पेज तां पर बेसिकली इहो हली चाइना में रहियो आहे सेशन त उन्हनि दोस्तनि सां उते जेको आहे न ॻाल्हि ॿोल्हि हली रही आहे चाइना में हेलो
Hello. Okay, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Oh.
Yes, now I can see you guys.
Okay, then should the student calculate all kinds of load, such as dead load, leaf load, wind load, and earthquake action? Should they calculate all these loads?
Yes. So basically in Pakistan mostly there is a live load, right? There's a wind load, plus there's the earthquake load, dead load also. But in these countries, even in China, there would be a snow load also, because there is lots of snow. There is a heavy kind of a rain, so you have to calculate that load too. Plus there is like in the USA, there is a tornado scheme, right? The wave action, so you have to calculate that one too on your calculation.
How about the internal force? Should the student calculate internal force by hand or by software?
When I done it, there wasn't any software, so we have to done it by ourselves, right? So internal forces generate when there is a lots of wind acting on the building plane. There would be some suction coming through from inside. That load they have to calculate it by themselves. I don't know, maybe they have the computers, the program right now, but when I done it, there wasn't a computer, there wasn't a software available. So we have done that one by our hand. But in Canada, you have to calculate those forces by hand, all the forces, and then you apply those forces through finite element softwares like RISA, ACE-frame, STAID, SAP. These are 4-5 different structural analysis software which are acceptable to all the countries. The SAP, STAID is in Gulf countries. If you go, these guys can go Gulf countries or Pakistan. SAP and STAID, mostly in their companies they are using that one. In Canada, Australia, New Zealand, in Australia, USA, they are using mostly RISA and STAID and SAP. So these are only 4 or 5 softwares which are mostly using by onshore structures. Offshore they have a different structures, which is in the sea. But onshore, mostly these 4-5 softwares are world recognizable softwares which they use. But all the forces, software don't calculate the force. People, the engineers, they're gonna calculate the dead load. They're gonna calculate the live load. They're gonna calculate by themselves. The wind load they're gonna calculate by themselves. The earthquake load they're gonna calculate by themselves. Right? Might be they can put some factors in STAID or SAP for earthquake. They can get a response spectrum or dynamic forces. They can do it through softwares. But the other loads they're gonna do by themselves. They can calculate by themselves. There's no up until now I don't know is there any other method came out which calculate all the load by themselves. Might be there would be, but I'm not aware. I done all the loading in 15 years by myself, and all other engineers here in Canada are doing same thing, calculating load by themselves and then applying this load to the finite element methods softwares which I already explained to you, the RISA, ACE-frame, STAID, SAP. those kind of softwares.
And how many stories should a student plot?
Question?
How many stories should a student plot?
Okay, so you are asking me how many stories a student can design. That is the question.
And the paper, drawing paper.
In a paper, see, if the building is not too tall, which need a tunnel analysis for the wind. For example, if there is 100-story tall, then you need and the structure is slender, then you need a wind tunnel analysis, which basically is to calculate the force of wind, the action of the wind, what gonna happens when that much force is acting on a building. Rest, if they are not, as I've said, if they are not calculating the 100 story tall building, then even a 1 story has all the components, like they have a beams, they have a columns, they have a slab, they have a roof, they have a foundation. So even if they design 1 story, they have all the flavors of the building to design. So in my opinion, if I were to be a professor, if I can give it to them assignment to do a simple project of the design a building, I can give them a 2-story building with all the components. I want to see how they can design that the water tower at the top of the building. So they have to calculate the load of the water itself and the tank. Plus, I want to see how they calculate the 2-way and a 1-way slab, simply supported beam, continuous beam, overhang beam, column, group of columns, foundation with a spread footing, foundation with a raft, foundation with a piles. That what I gonna see if I be their professor or a checker. I wanna see all these components designed by the engineer. If even 1 story, 2 story, doesn't matter, because load gonna be same, analysis gonna be same, nothing gonna be changed. Only the change would be if the building is cylinder and tall, then we need a tunnel analysis, wind tunnel analysis, and that is the difficult, because you have to model it, a real building in a short form, and then you have to perform that analysis. But the rest equations and everything, one simply building has all the components. So they can have like a shear, the movement, whatever stresses are there, they can calculate it in that simple building. So for me, 1 simple building, 2-story would be enough for them to learn the structural analysis. And it should have that kind of geometry, which should have overhang, cantilever of beams, which have a continuous support beams, simply supported beams, columns, footings, and the roof. That's be done. And the same phenomena, whatever they're gonna design it, it will be the same. If they're gonna design a bridge, only bridge and the building difference is the moving load. Rest is the same. Analysis is the same. Only difference is the moving load. That's it. So if they already know how to design a simply supported beam, how to design a continuous beam, they're gonna design any beams anywhere in the world. So that is the basic phenomena. If they have all the beams, overhang beam, continuous beam, and simply supported beam, they should know when there is a mid-span support, mid-span load, where we're gonna be producing a deflection, where we're gonna be having a more movement, or where gonna be having a more shear. When there is a continuous support, we're gonna be having a more negative movement, we're gonna be having a more positive movement. What gonna happens to the shear strength of the beam, where this beam gonna fail and what forces it gonna fail. So that kind of information is needed by supervisor, I guess. They should know also how to do a free body diagram, right? That is the most important for a junior engineer, to know the free body diagram. So when there is a load applied, what gonna happens to the beam? When there is a load on the column, what gonna happens to the column? So you should know the free body diagram of the forces. So that is the most important thing. People, when I was in undergrad, I don't pay attention, and it creates lots of problem in a professional life, because you don't know what gonna happen if there is a eccentric load on the beam, where it's gonna be having a more forces. So free body diagram is a must. If somebody doesn't know, then you should read structural analysis, any structural analysis good book, and it will be done. So for a civil engineer, if you want to be a good structural engineer, you should know the structural analysis, you should know the material of strength, you should know the foundation engineering. So these three things you must: material of strength, structural analysis, and the foundation engineering. You should pay attention on these three subjects. You can pay attention on other subjects too, but these are the three more important subjects if you want to be a structural analysis engineer.
I want to ask about the practical teaching in curriculum. And I found out almost every course have one credit hour for 1 week. That means that student must spend 1 hour on practice.
So your question is, a student should pay 1 hour every day on a practical, right?
Every week.
Every week. Yes, that's important, right? So if, for example, if concrete, right, you have to make a cylinder test, right? What strength is that concrete is, and on what forces, what stress this concrete gonna burst. That is the most important things, to know the strength of the concrete when that concrete gonna fail. If there is a steel beam, if you wanna see, you put a force on a steel beam and see, and what level it gonna that steel beam gonna fail. So those strength should be done by your lab. Also the soil testing. What is the Utterberg limits of that soil? What is the liquid limit of that soil? Right? How much water is in it, in a raw material? What kind of dissipation of water gonna be done by clay soil? So those kind of a practical should be done, because without those, how they gonna perform in their jobs in professional life? So they should have a first-hand experience of the things, the failures, the design, construction, and the failure. So they're gonna design first, then they're gonna construct second, and then they're gonna apply the load on that constructed thing and see what gonna happens of different forces on that structure. So they can design a beam first, then they're gonna construct that beam with a concrete and a steel, a reinforced bar. Then they apply a force on that simply supported or continuous beam, and see and what forces that beam gonna fail. So that are the, I guess that are the essential things for any engineers to learn.
For foundation engineering, so what students should do for practical hour?
Yeah, for foundation, see, foundation engineering only difference is, if there is a slab, the roof slab, and the raft foundation is the same thing. Roof slab doesn't have a support from beneath, but the raft foundation or any spread footing has a support from the bottom too. So soil gonna support that foundation. So they can design a foundation something, and they apply the load on it on a different kind of strata, different kind of soil. Behavior in a clay soil of foundation is a different than a sandy soil. Difference in a silty and a sandy silty soil is a different. So they can have a like a maybe meter or something different kind of soil, and they put the pressure on that soil through the concrete and see how this function of soil can be done. Because in clay there will be a continuous support, in sand it won't be. from somewhere it's gonna be having more, somewhere gonna be a less. So different kind of soil